on the technique, and it's just half the size. Okay, so first thing we're going to be doing is cutting straight down here, and then cutting here, scoring, cutting, scoring, cutting, and doing the exact same thing over here on this side. Flip the page over, cutting, cutting, scoring, cutting, cutting, scoring, cutting, and the exact same thing over on the other side, making sure our scores and our folds are working properly. Put the tape on the opposite side of this, and then fold it in the middle, and put our wall together, push our flaps in, and bingo, we have our short wall. Now you do this a bunch of times with a bunch of these, you don't ever have to do them again, and the more you do, the more walls you have, and it's a great way to enhance your role-playing games. So here we go. We're going to start with our cuts over here on our right side. So straight up, cut that down. Here, score. Now you remember, do not push too hard on the scores. Just a light, just really light down where you need to make the fold. Okay, now we're going to make sure we cut this out. Now again, you can always leave an extra part on this, these flaps here, and to do the solid end cap for the wall if you don't want to have the shaped fold in. So now we're going to flip this over, and what you want to make sure you do is, since we have these flaps here, okay, you want to make sure, these flaps here, you want to make sure that you hold down on this, because if you don't, what happens is that once you start cutting on those, if you don't hold down on it, see how it bends like that? It'll bend and actually tear this flap right here. So you always want to make sure that you put your hand there and are able to cut that straight through. So now once we've done that part, then we just need to go here and we'll cut that straight down, and then we just need to score. Now this part is quite important, this score here, because this is the bottom section of our wall. Now it's going to make the wall sit on the ground. So the straighter this is, the flatter your wall is going to sit, and it won't rock back and forth. So just go slow on this one. And if you stare at your blade, at the actual tip of your blade, it makes it easier to see what's coming next, and you can keep it in a straight line. Same thing here. We'll cut this. This is the top part of your wall. Okay. This part here, you want to do the same thing. Keep this straight. Now there's a dotted line here that you want to be able to follow. It's very faint. Just follow where the light and the dark meet. Okay. Exact same thing over here on this side. Cut. Now again, if you are off a little bit, don't worry about it. You can always go back and cut it. Now, that should get rid of that piece. And now we're going to score. Now the important thing here, you want to make sure that you are using an art knife or an X-Acto blade. If you're using scissors, you're not going to be able to get in this section right here. Okay, you're not going to be able to cut in there with scissors. You're going to want to use the art blade. Okay, so after that section, we're going to go ahead and do this part here. Cut straight down, score on this. Now this part right here is another important one. This is the other side of the wall, the opposite side. We're going to cut through this, cut here, and now we're going to go to the next part, which is the outside of this flap. Now this really isn't that important. You can be off a little bit. You're not going to see this. This is just where it is connected to this flap. Now we have our angles here. You can leave those on, or you can cut them out. It makes it fold together a little bit better if you cut them off. But really, you don't have to do that step. It's not that important because it still will go together. Now here's where we put our tape. We're going to put our tape on the opposite side of this, right here. And then it'll fold in half, and it'll connect to this. Now, first thing we want to do before we put our tape on is you want to check to make sure all of your scores produce proper folds. And it does. It's perfectly good. So now we're going to put our tape on this opposite side here, and you just measure it out. Just get it a little bit shorter than the actual length of the paper. If it's too long, then you have to go in and you have to cut the excess off, and that's just extra time that we just don't want to do. Now go ahead and we're going to fold this directly in half, and if you make the line straight, it'll fold and it'll lace perfectly straight right on that edge. Pop it up, put in our thing, our flaps, and we have our short wall. The next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting out windows and doors and fitting them to the walls and making them so that they go